Edna Annie Prue, a well-known American writer, was born in Norwich, Connecticut in 1935, from a French-Canadian father and an English mother. First of 5 sisters, she takes history courses at the universities of Vermont and Montreal. At 20 years old, she's already married to a theater man and mother of a daughter. Considered the greatest living American writer, with The Secrets of Brokeback Mountain, she gives life to one of her most famous works. Translated into Italian as Gente da Wyoming, it was published for the first time in the American newspaper The New Yorker on October 1997. Its release causes a scandal because of its uncomfortable subject matter, homosexuality. Ang Lee's film brings to light a burning issue. The director was awarded the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival and 3 Oscars. For the parts of the protagonists, he chooses 2 already famous actors, Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal, who consecrate their careers in this film, which highlights the male love. The homosexual theme is in fact the most important American narrative theme. The film causes a stir not only because of Lee's skill, but also because it demolishes the figure of the cowboy macho of 19th century tradition, revealing in an innocent and painful story of homosexuality that cowboys can also be gay. Reading the book invites us to discover the author, drawn to the rugged spaces of Wyoming, historically an area of great influx of Harrods, even by displaced Southerns, the most stragglers from the Civil War, who made that trade as a means of survival. True photographers with the great talent, social realities and the different nuances of the human soul, but also describes Wyoming, the life of the prairie and rugged mountains. This book, barely 50 pages, can be read in one breath, and that's why in the movie no scene was cut. The plot unfolds over 20 years and begins in the summer of 1963, when the main characters, Annis Delmar and Jack Twist, meet to share a job as shepherds. They are both simple men, rough cowboys, accustomed to the Spartan life and the long solitudes of trenchments and summer pastures. They are very different in character. Annis is taciturn and introverted, while Jack is talkative and dreamy. In the desolate landscape, an erotic passion erupts between the two that will last 20 years but lived in hiding. They are linked by a strong and true love, but they don't admit it for fear of others' judgment and of the male-dominated society in which they live. With the summer over, Jack and Annis separate, living their lives as if nothing had happened. Out of pure social convention to hide himself and without loving her, Annis marries Alma and has 2 daughters. Annis, on one hand, experiences marriage as a social constraint and trap, which he would like to escape, and does seasonal works with which he can barely support his family. Jack, on the other hand, hopes to make it in the world of rodeos, but since he doesn't have the qualities, he marries Lorraine and works in the company of his father-in-law, a rich landowner. 4 years after their first meeting, Jack visits Annis. Finally, after so much, they two embrace and kiss passionately, promising never to leave each other again. For the next 16 years, they see each other no more than 2 times a year and forget their unhappy lives. Although they dream a life together, however, they never have the courage to love each other and wreck each other. Annis divorces his wife and withdraws into himself, and Jack consoles himself with other men. In their last meeting, Jack reiterates to Annis that he wants to give up everything for him, but the other, terrified by the consequences, still refuses the only source of happiness. When Annis makes up his mind and writes Jack a postcard, he comes back to him marked "Decided." He immediately telephones Jack's wife and learns of his death. Distraught by the news, he goes to Jack's parents, offering to take his ashes to Brokeback Mountain. In his room, he finds the shirt he thought was lost that summer and that Jack had always kept, wrapped in one of his own, as proof of his love. Ennis takes them away with him as the only memory of that happy summer. Book and movie have few differences. The only two variants are prologue and final. The book begins with the prologue absent from the film. Ennis wakes up knowing he lost another job, but happy to have drowned Jack. In the epilogue, instead, he buys a Brokeback Mountain card and hangs it in the closet, next to his shirt, staring and crying and saying, "Jack, I swear." In the film, instead, after the exit of his daughter Alma, who goes to him to tell him that she's going to get married, Ennis opens the closet, where cards and shirts are already arranged, and pronounces the same heartbreaking line. Dealing with an uncomfortable subject, the film has suffered strong criticism and censorships. In Italy, it was broadcast later after having been censored for a long time. I choose this film because it talks about homosexuality, a hot and uncomfortable subject, but always fascinating and current. Today, in fact, homosexuality is still perceived as dangerous, dirty, and perversive. In the book, the protagonists do not accept their sexuality and condemn themselves to unhappiness. But there is only one life to live. We have the right and the duty to be happy with those who complete, accept, and love us for who we are. Whether destiny chooses for us, man or woman, it doesn't matter. To love each other are two souls.